Hello Channel NITT viewers, I am DS your psychologist and welcome to another episode on Channel NITT. This is going to be a very quick episode where I am going to share with my viewers how you can apply a psychological principle to help you to profile people using the MBTI even better. So as a psychology channel, Channel NITT has been producing a lot of different subgenres of psychology, from psychological principles to parenting to MBTI. And so far, MBTI is the most popular genre for our channel. So what this really means is that a lot of people are really interested in the MBTI and a lot of people actually do know the cognitive function. Nonetheless, there are still a lot of people, including academics, that claim that the MBTI is a pseudoscience. So in a few of my previous episodes, I have already explained why the MBTI is seemingly unreliable, but for the benefit of our newer viewers, I am going to summarize them again here. Many critics of the MBTI say that MBTI is not reliable because it does not have test-retest reliability. Sometimes it is possible for a testee to be typed two different MBTI types when they do the MBTI paper and pencil test over a span of 3 months. So the traditional MBTI assessment is based on the paper and pencil method, and in that method, the testee has to do a self-evaluation. Given that actually we have a cognitive stack with both superego functions and id functions, sometimes we may analyze an item based on using our superego functions and sometimes the id functions. As a consequence of this, sometimes you can get an MBTI type very different from our original MBTI type. This is why some people are really very confused. But the fact is, our cognitive stacks are fixed and it doesn't really change.
I won't change by the glamorous.
To cut the story short, the MBTI paper and pencil method is not good at deducing your MBTI cognitive stacks at all. Even between individuals, the cognitive stack may manifest itself very differently in individuals. So in other words, two ENTJs can display slightly different behaviors even though they have the same cognitive stack. Why? Because the manifestation of the cognitive stack is different for the two ENTJs. However, if you know cognitive stacks very well, then these behaviors make total sense to you.
And I'm sure that makes sense.
For anyone to really appreciate the MBTI and understand it totally, you really have to know the cognitive stacks and cognitive functions. So viewers who know the cognitive stacks will really appreciate and understand the MBTI and the MBTI method. And they can use this method to profile the people around them. And now I am going to share with you a psychological principle that can boost your ability to deduce a person's MBTI type using cognitive functions. And this psychological principle is projection. Well, we have done an episode on projection before under defense mechanisms. So this projection that we are talking about in this episode has to do with egocentrism. Generally, we can consider human beings to be egocentric. This means that they really can only think from their own point of view, especially when they are anxious. So egocentrism is the tendency for human beings to interpret the intention of others, events, and things happening around them from their own point of view. And one way in which we demonstrate egocentrism is through projection. So we project our own motives, our own emotions, and our own values onto others. So presume someone tell you, "Wow, why they so good, huh? Give you this kind of thing?" They ask this because deep inside, they are not kind. They are projecting their lack of kindness onto people, that they will question why people are so kind. So a cheating husband is very likely to also believe that the wife is also cheating on him. You can use this principle of egocentrism in a very curious way. A homosexual man is very likely to believe that a lot of people are also homosexuals. So when going on the street, they are likely to say that, oh, these two guys are standing together, they are a couple. Why? Because he is projecting his own desires onto the couple. In other words, a gay male is very likely to overestimate the percentage of gays, homosexual people in his country. So he might say, oh, 20% of Singapore is gay. On the other hand, a straight person will underestimate this figure because of projection as well. Because the person is straight, they are very likely to assume that other people are straight as well. Of course, things changes when you have different experiences. So a straight woman can have a lot of gay friends. And with that, she might adjust this percentage accordingly. But as a general rule, you tend to overestimate the people in your community. So a Christian might think that there are a lot of Christians around them. So as discussed, egocentrism and projection makes us overestimate the percentage of people in our exclusive community. It also has another effect. Egocentrism causes us to want people to behave like us. And this is where MBTI kicks in. We use our dominant and auxiliary function to judge other people, especially if you are a judger, the EJ types and the IP types. So take for example, as an ENTJ, I am a TE dominant. TE has this trait of civic mindedness. So when I go about my daily activities, I always project civic mindedness onto others. I will be civic minded and I expect you to be civic minded as well. So especially for the judges, it is quite apparent when they project their own selves onto other people. Because we are already very comfortable with our own cognitive stacks and cognitive functions, we also tend to project these cognitive functions onto others. So an SE user might be very upset or even offended if their date appears on their first date not well dressed. Similarly, an FI individual who is anti-government will be very reluctant to make friends with a person who is pro-government. Why? Because they are projecting their own values onto others. Due to egocentrism, we would like other people to be like us as well. So if you can see this kind of violent reaction, then you might suspect that FI is present. Why? Because you deduce based on the principle of projection. So the ENTJ is a TE user and also a judger. So what this means is that the ENTJ is very likely to do projection on others as well. So in the MBTI, there are 8 judges and there are 8 perceivers. The EJ and IP types are the judges, and the IJ and EP types are the perceivers. So overall, the judges are more likely to project onto others than the perceivers. They are quicker to project and impose onto others. So as an ENTJ, I am a judger. I usually impose TE onto others by projecting TE onto others. So I expect others to use TE as well. So this means that as an ENTJ, I can get very irritated with people who do not exercise civic mindedness, people who waste my time because this is a lack of efficiency. This is also why as an ENTJ, I do not personally have a high regard for the P-type individuals. So P-type individuals in the MBTI use IT functions either as their dominant or auxiliary functions. Why? Because I am projecting my own values on others. I expect other people to have the same values as me. So if you listen carefully to what people say, you might be able to deduce a person's MBTI type using this concept of projection and egocentrism. This is especially true for the judges because they tend to express their values, their opinions very outwardly and straightforwardly. Okay, I hope that you have learned a psychological principle in this episode. If you have not subscribed, do consider subscribing so that we can bring you more MBTI and psychology. Okay, I'm going to sign off now and I'll see you in my next episode. Goodbye!